Now that most have seen Chris Rock's selective outrage, we've seen some start to talk about Chris's comedy style throughout his career. Recently, State of the Culture's Ebony Williams spoke on attending his Ego Death tour and thought he pandered to white people in his act by telling insulting jokes about black people in front of a white audience. Because people have seen Chris operate in white spaces as of lately, it has a lot of people wondering if Ebony Williams is right in her stance and why. Today we have our comedy hype analyst Pierre calling in, along with very special guest comedian Rodney in studio to give their thoughts and reactions. But first, let's take a look at this clip.
Some of y'all spent the weekend watching the Chris Rock special. Some of y'all, certainly not me. Let me tell y'all when I got up to go. When this black man in America stood on that stage in front of a 90% white audience in New York fucking City and said that his property value was going down because too many black people were moving into his subdivision. He just sounded pussy to me.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing was given bitch assness and pussy. I have been a lifelong Chris Rock comedy fan. For me, Chris Rock is done. He was so clearly curtailing his bits for white claps. It was, I'm black, but I'm not a... And they were laughing their fucking asses off, Dustin. I left halfway. I was disappointed. I was hungry. I left there thinking he need to be slapped one more time.
Now, before diving into you all's reaction, I said this off screen, but I want to say it on screen as well. Thank you both for the work that you do. Being a comedian is one of the toughest jobs, especially in this climate. So thank you both for what you do. Do you think Ebony is right in her opinion of Chris Rock? Do you think it's fair?
I can feel what she's saying. She has every right to say what she wants. I understand where she's coming from, but we're comedians. Everything ain't gonna be perfect. Every joke ain't gonna be perfectly said the way you want it. I've seen Chris Rock on stage, and some of the shows he's done, he's got a lot of black people in the audience. It wasn't a 90% white audience. So I mean, I don't know if he knows what's going to show up that night. Does he need to curb his jokes, his whole act when he looks out there and says, "Oh, there's too many white folks tonight. I can't do this joke. I can't do that joke." He has a routine he does. I've seen him do shows where it's 90% blacks. So, for her to have an opinion saying she walked out because she was upset about that, she has a right to walk out, but he's a comic. He's going to say what he has to say.
Rodney, let me bring you in again. Thank you so much for chiming in on this topic. It's been a topic all week, and I'm pretty sure you've seen it on the internet as well.
Absolutely.
So I want to get your reaction as well, but also, do you think Ebony's opinion is fair on Chris Rock?
She's entitled to her opinion. She is an audience member. She paid her money to see him. So absolutely her opinion matters. But at the same time, it don't matter. I'm saying that no disrespect to Ebony or her co-host. I understand what she's saying, and a lot of black people can feel that way, but the truth is the truth. If you live in an area that's predominantly white already, and black people start to move in, just like she said, property value may go down. Now, if you live in anywhere in this country other than Atlanta, that's a fact.
Yeah.
It's just a fact.
Yeah.
And he's stating the fact, so he's not allowed to state a fact in a room full of white people? Please, Ebony, come on, you can do better, sis. I'm saying that some things are facts, and just because you don't like it, don't mean you can go on your platform and demonize it. It's not fair.
Now, a lot of people are also using this, we've seen Chris in the headlines like crazy since his special has dropped. We've seen a lot of people resurfacing old clips. Someone will actually bring up when Chris Rock was sitting by Louis C.K., and here's what a person had to say. They said, "It really warms my heart that the majority of black Twitter is calling out Chris Rock for his anti-black rhetoric. I've been done with him since the video of him encouraging Louis C.K. to say the N-word." I want to take a look at that clip and then come back and get your thoughts on it. So let's take a look at that clip.
Negative things we think about black people. This fucker.
You're saying I'm an...
Yes, you are the white man.
I don't think he could do that.
Oh,
What?
I don't think he has those
there's only
qualities.
two. You don't even understand.
Really?
You don't really know him. Like I've worked with him.
No, like your bit about...
I wouldn't use it anywhere.
These two
we
use
say
that
on stage.
on stage.
You guys don't. That's an
That's
interesting
the
two
difference.
teams
That's
here.
the difference between
That-
who
we
says
say
on stage. We don't.
Well, you just did.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
You and me say private.
No.
These two guys. I don't believe he saes it in private.
I've given it up just because it's played.
I don't believe it's. I don't think you've ever said it probably in your life.
No,
I don't think. No. That's a huge difference between you and me, I think.
Well,
That's what I've said
you
it.
found the humor of it.
Yeah.
I haven't found it.
Right.
Nor do I seek it.
Pierre, I already hear you, so I'm coming for your reaction. I want to know how does that impact the way that you view Chris Rock? Because a lot of people are saying that was a turning point for them. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, that definitely is cringeworthy. To hear that, to hear the yucking amongst, him, the only black brother, amongst the white guys. It's unfortunate the whitest dude of the bunch damn near had to stand up and say something that was very, compelling. He said, "I don't find the humor in it, nor do I seek it." To say the word nigger, the ER on it. Chris Rock and Louis C.K. have a relationship, where I guess they, it's okay for them to say it amongst themselves. Obviously, he said it, that it is that. Especially today, this day and age, it ain't working. That don't work to see that. That need to be left behind closed doors if that's what you're going to get down with. To put that out, expose that to everybody wasn't a good look, wasn't a good feel, especially to this day. I don't know if Chris Rock regrets it. I'd like to ask Chris, does he regret saying it out loud and publicly? Does he, or he's going to double down on it and say, I said what I meant. I'm going to stay with it today. I still don't mind somebody saying that. But, I don't know if we're going further with this, but Chris has, in his defense, only a small defense, he has fought for a lot of black situations in his stand-up comedy. So, but still, that's cringeworthy. That was cringeworthy to me. I wouldn't have said it. And I ain't even black. I ain't as black as that nigga is and shit, okay?
I was gonna say, Pierre, I'm very curious to know how would you have responded if you were Chris Rock? How would you respond?
First of all, I'm never in a room with that many white comedians, okay? I'm on the chitlin circuit, okay? I'm with these niggas and shit, okay? Let's be real. But that's first of all. So I'm gonna stand out. I wouldn't have. I don't know. I haven't been around some white friends of mine who say that word like that, and just have a good time with the word. But I definitely, if it was private, I wouldn't have made it public. I'm just saying, I would have never done that. I wouldn't have made it public. It's just not a good look. We got to sometimes watch what we say, for the big picture. And it wasn't necessary. That yucking around, that little meeting they had together and stuff was cool. But remember, Chris Rock, you're the only black comedian. As black people, we see you. You're the black comedian. The rest of them was white. I don't care if they don't like you, and they think you're this, you're a coon, sell out, whatever they do. You're still the only black comedian in that crowd. And them boys are yucking it up with you saying that word and how funny it is amongst y'all. It's just not a good look. It's just not a good feel. But, comics do stuff behind closed doors. It just shouldn't have been done in front, to me, in my opinion, in front of everybody.
Rodney, let me bring you in and get your thoughts on it. How did that moment impact the way that you view Chris Rock? And then, of course, I want to know, how would you respond if you were Chris Rock in that situation?
Good question, man. Let's look at it. Okay, how did it impact me? To answer the question, first of all, the closest I got to a white comedy friend is Pierre. and Pierre made,
my nigga, you need to upgrade, my nigga.
Hey, but you spoke to something really important, Pierre. When we operating in a black comedy world, we're never in rooms like that with them. But from time to time, it happened to me before. I'm in the Ontario Improv as a showcase for a Comedy Central show, and these white boys is on stage saying nigga left and right in their bits. And I walked on stage, I was like, yo, y'all, I don't want to be on a show where this is what y'all looking for.
Yeah.
And I left. I got up out of there. And so this happens more than you know. It's a reality. And some people say nigga to be edgy.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm gonna just see what I can do. But guess what? Ain't never no niggas in the room. So to my white friends, we might be there.
The audience is definitely y'all are definitely adding some dynamic to this. Now, as you all know, every Wednesday we have a live studio audience, and I really want to be able to have somebody chime in on this topic because it has a lot of layers, right?
It's real.
You have, and it is, like you said, it is very much real, and it's a lot of things that we just don't see. So I'm gonna take it over to a live in-studio audience who is actually our very own writer and a comedian, Dom Smith, who's gonna ask you all the questions. So Dom, thank you so much, Dom, for chiming in on this topic. I'm definitely excited to have you. What's your question for us?
First of all, thank you guys for having me. I am a very big Chris Rock fan. There's this video online of Chris getting interviewed by Kevin Hart. And Chris says that, after he did Bring the Pain, that kind of catapulted him to superstardom. After that, he was on like 60 Minutes, Oprah, all these other white outlets. And people started calling him, only white people like him. So in response to that, he decided to make, bigger and blacker. He's going to film the special in Harlem at the Apollo and try to make the blackest special ever. So with specials like Bigger and Blacker, he's been in New Jack City, he's hosted Def Comedy Jam, he's hosted the BET Awards. He's also, like Pierre's spoken to, given opportunities to other black comedians like, Bernie Mac, Wanda Sykes, JB Smoove. Where did this narrative of Chris Rock, or I should say, when did this narrative of Chris Rock pandering to white people happen, if he's done all these black things?
That's a very good question, Dom. Very good question. I feel sometimes if we see success from what we consider a white outlet, we automatically make you white. 60 Minutes is a white outlet. Let's be honest, Oprah Winfrey was kind of a white outlet. She, garnered most of her stuff to white women and so forth. Certain news programs, when we see you get success from there, automatically we think that you're white now, you're only accepted by white people, and we kind of digress. Opposed to if he had been on BET getting interviewed or some hip hop show, more the grimier, not grimier, whatever you want to call it, more urban outlets were interviewing him, he would have maybe been looked at differently. But if you listen to his material, he spoke a lot on stuff that's very interesting, about the black community and stuff we're going through. But he was one of the first ones of my generation that came out and started talking about racism. Because Def Comedy Jam, a lot of comedies, they do that. We were dancing and flipping and jumping and doing fucking jokes and all that. He was one of the cats in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, that my generation that came out and was talking about politics and, and racism and so forth. You got to remember that. He was one of the first ones, and one of the ones that put the most shine on it. So that's probably why, because of the outlets were mostly white, they gave him praise and stuff. And that's, you got to give him respect for that. That's major.
Black people make you famous. White folks or mainstream make you rich. And that's true of Chris Rock. That's true of a lot of comics that have transcended, that took it to another level. All right. So when you make the transition into the money, then you're gonna get that criticism that you're pandering to white America. But guess what? You kind of are, because that's where your bread is buttered. That's what you're getting. That's what the $1 million house came because of them. So one way to answer your question, Dom, when does it happen? Where does it happen in his career? Like Pierre said, he's done a lot of black stuff, but Chris Rock was never a black comedian. Like, he even talks about how he couldn't follow Martin back in the day. Martin was clearly a black comedian. And there's two different worlds. And nobody talks about it. Nobody even references it. I'm a black comic. Somebody's sitting out there going, who is this guy? You don't know me because you don't look for black comedy. Black comedy is a real thing, and I'm not gonna go as far as Pierre and say it's any worse or better, it's not better than white comedy. It's not better than mainstream. It's just something different, And so as you look at some of the best voices of our time are black comics. Mike Epps is a black comic. Pierre is a black comic. Rodney Perry is a black comic. Kevin Hart is a black comic. But Kevin Hart has made a transition into the mainstream world. So he's a black comic that made that transition. So we all, hopefully, if the Lord say the same, we'll make that transition into the mainstream world. And then we'll get the same criticism. Oh, Rodney Perry is pandering to the white folks now. No, he ain't.
Let me ask you a question, Dom, or people. What amount of success do you have to be considered, mainstream now or crossed over? Because one of the guys I think that had a lot of success, had a TV show, a lot of stuff happening for him, and he stayed, to me, what I consider black, was Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac stayed black, and he was being very successful, more than a Kevin Hart, more than some of the other comics you may want to know. I don't know who else we can talk about, but so it's a very unique thing. You have to stay. Because do we consider Steve Harvey? Is he a black comedian anymore? I mean, he's on a popular show, Family Feud. He's acting like a nigga on Family Feud. Let's be real. Some of the shit he gets side-eyed, some of the dancing he do and shit, he do that, and that's a mainstream show.
He retired though, right, Pierre? Steve is out the game. Steve retired, right?
From stand-up, yeah.
From stand-up, Steve Harvey retired. And who dancing? What are you talking about?
Well, hold on. What? Steve, okay, are you on here just to argue? We just argue, nigga. I don't give a fuck. But if Steve Harvey does comedy next week, has he retired? Steve Harvey said he'll do a comedy show once he finishes all his rest of his stuff. He wants to do one big show. So I don't know if he's retired, because he said he's gonna do another one at the end. So is he retired? He said after the Family Feud's over with, he's gonna do a special to talk about all the stuff he wants to talk about. So I don't know if he retired from comedy, but okay, if that's what you want to say, cool. But you get the point I'm making.
No. I understand the point you were making, but I don't, would you disagree that there is a black comedy world and then there is a mainstream comedy world, or urban comedy world versus mainstream?
There's a mainstream comedy world that black comics cross over to. Yes, there is. Yes, sure there is. There is. And then there's a comedy world that they don't cross. Mike Epps ain't crossed over. Mike Epps is still a black comic doing black shit. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't crossed over to the mainstream yet. So I don't know what the discussion is.
You asked a great question. Your question was, what dollar amount makes you mainstream? I mean, some people would say Mike Epps has achieved that dollar amount.
But no, I didn't even say that. I didn't mean a dollar amount. But what is it that makes you become a mainstream comic? You know, you said Kevin Hart. You said Kevin Hart's is still a black comic. I mean, he does mainstream.
In terms of Chris's standpoint, I guess hosting the Oscars is a huge white outlet. Chris has Emmys and Grammys, so like maybe attending those ceremonies over the NAACP Image Awards or any other black award show. I know we've seen him in those white award shows compared to those black award shows, so I think that's probably an aspect of why.
Yeah. Sure. I just think he got grabbed quickly. He got grabbed quickly over to the white, mainstream audience quickly, and that's why he didn't have, no need to come over to the black, market. He just got, sent over there really quick. Because remember, he used to joke about BET a lot. He said a lot of negative things about BET in his act. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, BET, what that BET, So that was his, his getting away from. It felt like away from urban stuff and more into mainstream. But as a comic, he's spoken a lot about racism and stuff into white people's faces. I don't see him tap dancing up there on stage. I didn't. Now, does everything he say, positively affect black folks? No, but sometimes you gotta, say some shit that might hurt you a little bit, like he said about the housing market. It's true, like Rodney said, it is true. When black people come over somewhere into a white neighborhood, it comes down at times. Well, I mean, that's factual, not a lie. It's factual. It shows about the money. Doesn't mean he's wrong. He can't speak on that, even though we're going through it and it hurts. Well, maybe we need to find a way to change it. Don't be mad at the messenger. Don't be mad at him for saying the truth. Be mad at what the system is doing, and let's change the system.
Again, thank you, Dom, y'all can give him a round of applause. Thank y'all for chiming in. And I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Smoky Stallion, for this week's Viewer Spotlight. Every Wednesday, they have Whiskey and Wing Wednesday at Smoky Stallion Barbecue, owned by Cam and CJ Newton. They have 50-cent wings and $5 whiskey all day, every Wednesday. The address is 309 Nelson Street, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Check out their hours below, and don't forget to stop by and get some good wings. I want to piggyback off the conversation that you all were just having, because, Chris Rock is also getting being criticized because of what his audience looks like, right? So there's an audience change. He has more white people that are coming to see him. So I want to start with you, Rodney, and get your thoughts as a professional, right? Because I love having you two on because you are going to be able to give me insight. What is the protocol when your audience starts to change? Like when that audience is not just all black, do you start to change your material? Because Ebony even mentioned, there were some things that he said in front of white people, and that's what bothered her. Right. So what's the protocol? Do you change your material when your audience begins to change?
As a black man in America, there's certain things that aren't for public consumption, right? We don't talk about Luther. We don't talk about, Mary J. We don't do certain things in public. And we take exception when people do. And so when your audience changes, how about this? Chris Rock wrote an article in the Vanity Fair probably 7 years ago now, and he was talking about how it's all these niche audiences now. Everybody has their own, whether it's Russell Peters or Kevin Hart. Everybody has their, they're playing to their niche. And this is the reality. If you continue down your path to success, you will ultimately only work for your audience, regardless of their color, regardless of whether they're black, regardless of whether they're white. People are gonna find you simply because they mess with you. And guess what? If you keep beating the drum to the world, white folks gonna come. I saw Russell Peters here in Atlanta, and I walk into the Cobb Energy Center, 5,000 people, all Indian, all brown. I'm like, I didn't even know there was this many Indians in Atlanta. Every doctor in Atlanta was at this show. And so I was like, yo, this is really interesting. But so the reality is we're all working to find our audience. And Chris Rock audience happen to be whiter than mine or Pierre's or any number of people for that matter. Yeah. You don't fill up a football stadium like Kevin Hart and not have white folks there.
Right.
They coming. If you make it, white folk coming.
Pierre, let me get your thoughts. What do you think? What's the protocol when your audience begins to change? Is there a change in your material as well?
It all depends on what you're trying to achieve on stage. If you're more of a messenger like a Chris Rock or Dave Chappelle, and you notice now, you have more white people coming to your shows. First of all, if you've been who you've been, they're liking what you've been saying. So if it's about racism and about white folks doing certain things, because people are going to gravitate to what they like to hear. Okay, that's just what it is. They're going to gravitate. So if you're doing your certain act a certain way, you're committed to who you are and what you talk about. I talk about racism and sex or whatever the case may be. And all of a sudden I start seeing black people not being in my shows as much more white people. I'm going to continue down that road. Now, at a certain point, I may look out there and say, man, there's 80% white people and 20% black. Maybe since I am a person that wants to teach more about, I have a message, let me eliminate some of the sexual material and let me teach these white folks what we're going through with my material. So for them to even hear some of the shit y'all doing, white folks, y'all fucking up. You know what I'm saying? In my comedic way. So if you want to call it changing then, I don't know, but I think maybe putting the gas on a little more, something that you feel like you're looking out there seeing. You know what I'm saying? But you have to stay true to yourself. It's a must, it's a must. I would never let the audience dictate what I do. I'm going to be who I am, because then you're patronizing to no different than if a white comic was dancing on stage or whatever, and all of a sudden he see more black people showing up. Now they can talk about being in the cookout, being one of us in the cookout, being in church. What's up, brother, man? How y'all black folks doing? And niggas start stomping and clapping. Yeah, we like this motherfucker white dude. He talk about stuff we like to talk about. Hey, okay, well, if he wants to do that, then that's what he wants to do. He's now doing what his audience is coming to do, wants to see. So put on them shoes and let's start the dancing.
Rodney, I know you want to add to that. What's your thoughts?
Pierre, who dancing? Who dancing? Who is this magical comedian that's dancing?
What do you mean? There's a lot of comedians that dance no matter what side they go to.
I mean, you making it feel like you're talking about a step and fetch it though. Like, are you serious?
What do you mean? So you don't see white comics doing black rooms a little more physical and do other stuff, play instruments, dance or whatever. You don't see that at all? All right. Maybe you're not on the road as much. Let me bring you on the road with me some. Maybe you can see more stuff.
First of all, we know the answer to that. But look, what I'm saying, Pierre, is this. First of all, taking your point into consideration, Chris Rock hasn't changed. He's always been this guy. He's been talking about race since he came out.
I just said that. What are you talking about? I just said that.
You did not say that. You did not say that. I didn't say that. No, you didn't. Did he say that? All right. I'm not the only one in here. Anyway, and I didn't cut you off. So anyway, but it's either here nor there. The question is, has Chris Rock changed? I don't think he's changed a whole lot. Would I change? I would hope not. But I haven't been there yet. You know what I mean? I haven't been, where the entire world is looking at me at once. And so it's for those of you that would judge a Chris Rock or any big time comedian, think about what you would do in that situation before you do that.
Well, as always, I appreciate both of you for adding your own opinions and thoughts to it because, I think it does add value because you both are comedians. You both have been successful and are successful and continue to be on the road and see things that, consumers, we just don't see, we don't hear, we don't know what's going on behind stage. So just hearing from both of you, whether it's opposing or agreeing, I appreciate you both for chiming in on this topic. Of course, before heading out, I like to know what you have going on. So I'll start with our guest, Mr. Rodney Perry. What's going on? And of course, how can people follow you?
Oh, I'm easy to find. Rodney Perry Live on all social media. Every day I do my podcast. It's Rodney Perry Live. You can catch it on my YouTube channel. It's at Rodney Perry Live as well.
Absolutely. And last and certainly not least, Pierre, what do you have coming up? And of course, how can people follow you?
So for the excitement of the show today, I love Rodney Perry. I ain't got no beef with Rodney Perry. I know y'all can't wait to put this.
I'm not beefing with the yellow man.
But motherfucker, I'm gonna say myself, I don't tap dance for nobody, so that ain't gonna happen. I got my opinions, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Now,
you don't have no taps on your shoes. You don't have no taps on your shoes right now.
Oh God. Let him talk some more. He don't get to go on here but once every month. Let the boy talk some more. He got some more to go. So go on. Get it all out your shoulders so I can finish my comments. You done? You done yet?
So you cut me off, but I can't cut you off. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, man.
You good? You sure? All right.
Go ahead, yellow man. You can't bully me, Pierre. Go ahead.
The first part I like is the fact you think I'm a bullier. So I made my point straight. So thank you very much on that. Next thing.
Well done. Well done.
All right. My podcast, my very successful podcast that got over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Thank you, Comedy Hype, for making Pierre famous.
Well, you should ask them to make you famous, nigga. Okay, how about that? Okay, so they invest in who they need to invest in. They invest who they need, who they see they need to.
I did your movie.
Okay, all right. Mine.
Yes, I did your movie. I'm famous.
Okay, all right. So Pierre's Panic Room. I got my man Isaiah Washington on. Very interesting interview with him. As I have all the big guests popping on my show right now. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate that Rodney Perry was on my podcast. I appreciate that too. Now we're at 100,000. Now we're going to be subscribers. Now we're going to be more choosy who my guest will be. Thanks, Rodney, for being there when I had like 12,000 followers. Thank you, sir.
Hey, no problem, brother.
Y'all two are cutting up. If it's not Pierre and Yamanika, now I gotta worry about Pierre.
Now I gotta worry about it all.
What is the common thread? Pierre, he's a bully.
Yeah,
he's
the
a bully. I see
on
him
the
bullying
show.
Yamanika. He try to bully me, but it ain't gonna happen, son. Matter of fact, give me the Dookie one. Hand me the Dookie thing.
Well, again, it's another. Look over there. It is another Wednesday here at the Comedy Hype News Show. Man, thank you, Rodney Perry, for joining us. Thank you to our live studio audience. Thank you, Pierre, and honestly, I appreciate both of you for, providing value, but also some good laughs and fun. So thank you both for chiming in on this topic. You heard from us, now we'll hear from you in the comments. And also, if you come in the studio, you'll actually be able to choose from 3 different reactions at this point. So you can go the Dookie, the fist, and the cat to give your reactions live here in the studio. Again, you heard from us, now we'll hear from you in the comments below. What are your thoughts of Chris Rock being called out for pandering to white people? For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.
Put it in the comments. Start off with Pierre. I'll read it.
Do you know the comedy culture? Play Comedy Hype, the game. Out now.